Hello everyone, Tyler King here with another episode of NuReview. Today I'm doing a review of the 1982 Gary Numan album, I Assassin. So I Assassin was released in September of 1982, about a year after the release of his album Dance. This is going to be the fourth album released under his own name, sixth album overall, following the Two-Way Army albums that were self-titled and the Replicas album. In terms of personnel for I Assassin, Gary pretty much drops all of his previous musical collaborators on this album, save for Roger Mason, who played some synths on the Dance album. On drums, we're going to have Chris Slade, who later goes on to join AC/DC, but most importantly on this album, we are going to have Pino Palladino on bass. Pino Palladino is a fretless bass player who has gone on to play with the John Mayer Trio, The Who, Nine Inch Nails, D'Angelo. The list goes on for this guy. And his bass playing on this album is going to be almost as important as Paul Gardner's bass playing was on the Pleasure Principle and Telecon albums, or as important as Mick Karn's bass playing was on the Dance album. The fretless bass on I Assassin is going to be pushed to the forefront on a number of songs, and it really does give the album much more of a funk feel than Gary has had so far on his albums, save for maybe She's Got Claws, which was on his previous album Dance. The album opens up with the song White Boys and Heroes. It opens with this very sparse, exotic sounding drum machine intro. It's a little bit reminiscent of Remind Me to Smile from the Telecon album, before the song opens up and we are treated to our first taste of Pino Palladino's superb bass playing. On the song, Gary is kind of likening himself to this larger-than-life hero, saying heroes are tough and have no time for women and boys. And the chorus has this very big, kind of anthemic feel to it, which is fitting based on the lyrical content of the song. But about 3.5 minutes into the song, all the instrumentation drops out, save for the rhythm section, and we're treated to this incredibly obnoxious saxophone solo. On the album Dance, the one that immediately preceded I Assassin, the saxophone was used on a handful of songs played by Mick Karn, who also did the bass on Dance. But on I Assassin, we're really going to get the first hints of how important of a role saxophone is going to play on the next handful of Gary Numan albums, for better or worse. Another thing to note about this album is that the track listing is the shortest that Numan has had so far in his career. There are only 8 songs on the album, but all of them, save for the 1930s Rust, are around 5 minutes or so in length. The next song, War Songs, has this cool, distorted synthesizer intro. Musically, it's just this harmless synth-funk song. Lyrically, though, Numan is referencing the 1930s, the 1940s theme that he has incorporated into a couple of other songs on the album, as well as the album cover itself, on which he's standing against the street lamp in a fedora and a trench coat. It's very Frank Sinatra feeling. The lyrics of the chorus, in particular, being "Old men love war songs, love Vera Lynn. Old men love war songs. Now I'm Vera Lynn." Yeah. I mean, overall, the lyrics to this song are really cringeworthy. I like romantics, but I don't like Steven. The whole song is just a wasted 5 minutes. The third song on the album, A Dream of Siam, predictably, based on the title, has this very oriental feeling opening. It's this really kind of fun-sounding synth line that's played over this very deep, throbbing bass before the song opens up, and it's this very almost ominous-sounding song. Instrumentally, at least, Gary's playing these very sad, descending piano lines throughout the song. Lyrically, Gary again is making an allusion to heroes. Heroes always bleed, heroes never cry, heroes always get the best girl, and then they die. And we're 3 songs into the album. This is the most memorable one so far. The 4th song is Music for Chameleons. It has this very sparse ambient opening to it. It's a little bit like something like Cry the Clock Said off of the Dance album. A minute in, the song opens up into this really fun sounding synth funk song, and instrumentally at least, this is probably the strongest song on the entire album. The lyrics of the song deal with travel and a dream of Siam, and while on the previous album, Dance, a lot of the lyrics seem to be concerned with like romantic fallouts or any encounter with women in whatever form. The lyrics on I Assassin are a little bit more open-ended, a little bit more freeform, a little bit like the lyrics on the very first Two-Way Army album. And Music for Chameleons was the first single lifted from the album, and luckily we're not being treated to any obnoxious saxophone solos on it. The second side of the album opens up with This Is My House. In terms of intros, this is probably the best intro of any song on the album. It has these very distorted sounding bells, or they feel like very far away. It has this very spacious feel to it. Instrumentally, it is another synth funk song in the vein of White Boys and Heroes or war songs, but it is a little bit faster and it has much more of a rock feeling to it. It has this very harsh sounding synth that comes in after the chorus. And it also has these really cool sampled percussion sound on it. It's a little bit reminiscent of something like Pipeline by Depeche Mode or something from their A Broken Frame or Construction Time Again albums. After that we have the title track, I Assassin. Gary is saying he's an assassin, but it's nothing personal. Instrumentally though, there's not really much of note happening here besides these bright synths that are coming in after each chorus before the next verse. The song feels very hastily put together. It's not bad like war songs, but it feels unfinished, which really is a shame because this is the title track. Like, this is the song that is supposed to represent the album, and it really doesn't. And then next we have the 1930s Rust. This song is stylistically a complete 180-degree change from the previous songs that have come before it on the album. The 1930s Rust is lyrically, it's all finger snaps and it's all harmonica. Gary is trying to make an appeal to this woman who has cracked 1,000 hearts, but not his, telling her, say you've got no one tonight. Like on the song White Boys and Heroes, there's a sax solo on this song. It doesn't feel out of place on it though, just because of the other instrumentation that's going on this song. And the sax solo on here is actually kind of fun. And then the album ends with We Take Mystery to Bed. Right out of the gate, this has a complete different feel from the 1930s Rust. It kind of brings it back into the territory of the first 6 songs on the album. It opens up with this really fast tom roll, and then there's these very shiny cascading synths that come in, and this very killer funky bass line that's going underneath all of it. Makes another lyrical allusion to assassins, this time saying, you're my assassin, but you can't see the crime. And during the chorus, which is literally just him saying something is wrong over and over and over again, there's this guitar line. It wouldn't really feel out of place on something like the Let's Dance album by David Bowie. There's a really great line on the song. He says, you taste of love just like the sex smell of me. And there's this 2-minute long outro of the song. Gary really shows off his funk guitar chops. He's kind of trading back and forth with Pino Palladino's very hectic sounding bass playing. And this song, this is the most fun song on the album. It was the second single released from the album. Unfortunately, though, instead of it kind of making any kind of grand statement in the end, it just kind of fades out into nothing. And that's the I Assassin album. I would say, as far as Gary Numan albums go, this one's kind of the beginning of his decline into mediocrity. That's really going to continue with his next album, Warriors, and it's going to go on pretty much through the early 1990s. Besides an album that's going to be kind of in the mid 80s, it's all pretty much downhill from here. This one in particular is really showing the first signs of that. Whereas, like, Dance kind of felt like this cohesive piece, or Replicas and The Pleasure Principle and Telecon were these three albums that really worked on their own but also complemented each other. I Assassin just kind of stands out as being this very bland Gary Numan trying to be funky album. I mean, there's not really much else I can say. I mean, at least when I go back and listen to an album like Dance, I'm able to hear nuances that I hadn't heard before, whereas with I Assassin, there's not really too much that's hidden in the mixes, and lyrically it just doesn't really do anything for me. My favorite songs on the album are probably going to be A Dream of Siam, Music for Chameleons, and We Take Mystery to Bed. Least favorite songs are probably going to be War Songs, I Assassin, and I mean, part of me wants to say the 1930s Rust, but like, it's such a stupid, fun song. I kind of can't hate it. I would say my third choice would probably be the first song on the album, White Boys and Heroes. So that's it. That's I Assassin. Did you enjoy the review? Did you hate the review? Is I Assassin your favorite Gary Numan album? Is it your least favorite Gary Numan album? I hope not, because it gets worse from here on out. Does the album remind you of any particular period in your life? Make sure to leave any and all comments in the comment box below. And next up is going to be Warriors. However, in the meantime, I Assassin, Gary Numan. Gonna give this guy a 6. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because the singles are really good from this album. So that's it. Gary Numan, I Assassin, 6 out of 10.